Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. It is hard to believe that winter is actually over and it is time to start thinking about summer and summer planting.
We are past our last frost date and looking at the extended forecast. We also don't see any surprise frosts coming up.
Right,
And so we're super excited that today we can plant our summer plants in the greenhouse.
right. Now, just to be a little bit cautious, we won't plant our actual outside garden just yet.
Right.
Things are a little bit more protected here in the greenhouse, even though most of the year, once we have plants in here, we just have the sides open and everything else. Um, but there is still a little bit more protection in here than there is just outside. So, just to be safe, we wait a little longer, usually about May 1st, before we plant outside.
Now, over the years, and since we've had a greenhouse like this, we have discovered that there are some of our summer plants that do actually better in this environment.
Right.
We think because of the shade cloth. And so today we're going to share with you what those are, and we're going to plant this full greenhouse.
So today we have about 60 of these buckets to get planted. So we've got quite a bit of planting to do. Some of it's going to be from seed, some of it's going to be from transplants. And we're excited to bring you guys along and show you what we're going to be growing over the summer.
So this year we will be planting 6 different types of plants in this greenhouse, but several different varieties, not just 6 different plants. We're also going to be trying out a new type of organic fertilizer this year. We're really excited to bring that to you and to show you throughout the year, hopefully, how well it's going to do. We will be using that fertilizer in the greenhouse as well as out in our raised bed garden area. The plants we are going to be planting in here for this summer will be basil. A lot of our tomato plants will be here. Actually, with the exception of maybe 2 tomato plants, all of our tomatoes will be grown in the greenhouse this year. Behind the tomatoes will be some bush green beans, which we love to grow in the greenhouse. We will also have cucumbers and zucchini squash and peppers. Those are the 6 types of plants that we will be planting in the greenhouse.
So we're going to start here at the front of the high tunnel with our basil plants. Before we go any further, though, I did want to show you guys what we've decided to use this year for fertilizer. In the past, we've really struggled finding an organic fertilizer that we really like. We've tried several different brands throughout the years. Some years we even just used rabbit manure and things like that that we could produce ourselves. Sometimes that works really well. Some years it doesn't work as well. And we really wanted something that was going to be more balanced. We had considered using something like Garden Tone, which we've used in the past, but that's more of a powdery fertilizer, which is fine. It's just a little bit harder for me to work with, and I think a little bit messier. When we found this, and now we're in no way affiliated with this company. In fact, I think this Vigoro company is made specifically for Home Depot, which is where we bought this. So we're in no way affiliated with Home Depot or this company. The reason that I liked this, though, is it was one of the only organic fertilizers that we could find that it was in a pellet form. It's pelleted almost like chicken feed or something like that. And it's a slow release pellet that you can add to your soil. It says to apply it every 4 to 6 weeks. We will probably do every 4 weeks just because when you're watering buckets like this, you do lose quite a bit as it drains out the bottom. So we'll probably do every 4 weeks. It gives recommendations on the back of how to use this. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be adding some to each of the holes as we actually plant our transplants. And for the things that we are going to be starting from seed, we're actually not going to fertilize those today. Those buckets will wait until the seeds are up and have their first true leaves, and then we will fertilize those buckets by sprinkling the fertilizer on top of the soil and just kind of mixing it in around the new plants.
Now, the instructions tell us how much we should be using, and it also says to use half that amount for herbs. So, with the basil, we will be using 2.5 tablespoons of this pelleted fertilizer down in the hole. We'll make our hole. We'll put the fertilizer down there, kind of mix it up a little bit, and then plant right in the hole with the fertilizer on the bottom.
Right.
When we move on to the other plants, the tomato plants and the pepper plants, we'll actually use twice that. So we'll use about 5.5 tablespoons in the bottom of the hole, and that is how we're going to be using it initially.
Right. And then throughout the growing season, because obviously we can't dig the plants up and add it to the bottom of the hole again, throughout the growing season as the plants are growing, we will then just sprinkle that amount on top of the soil every 4 weeks or so and just kind of mix it into the first couple inches of soil. And that should make it good for another 4 to 6 weeks.
This fertilizer that we're using today is kind of like a multi-purpose fertilizer, and it is the NPK is 555, which is a really great standard kind of all-purpose ratio of nutrients that is perfect for when you're just getting your plants in the ground.
Right. Now they do sell another version of this fertilizer as well that we will start using a little later on in the season. We actually picked up a few bags of that already as well, so we have it on hand. And it is a 465, which means the middle number, the phosphorus, is a little bit higher, which is what you want when your plants get to the flowering and fruiting stages. So we'll switch to that later on in the season. And for now, we'll stick with this 555, which is a good balanced fertilizer to get things started. So I'm going to set this down. We're going to plant our basil here at the front of the greenhouse. Here in Missouri, basil gets huge. So we're only planting these 2 buckets of basil this year, especially now that it's really just me and Sarah here in the house. We don't need nearly as much of everything as we used to. So we're going to be planting these 2 plants, and these will get huge by the middle of summer. So we put our 2.5 tablespoons in the hole. Just kind of mix it around a little bit. And this is Genovese basil. That's really about the only basil we ever grow. We have grown other varieties in the past, but this is kind of our standard go-to basil is the Genovese.
Genovese get nice and big, and their leaves are nice and big also. That's really why we grow that variety every year.
And they smell amazing already. All right, so we got that planted. We'll put our waterer back here right near the plant. And basil is planted, and we are officially in gardening season for 2025.
Let's move on to tomatoes. Well, it's time for us to move on to tomatoes. And there's one thing that I know to be very true about Kevin. Not only does he absolutely love tomatoes, but in general, he really loves to snack when he comes out to the garden and to the greenhouse. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, when he comes into the greenhouse, what is he going to want to snack on first? And so in the garden and greenhouse layout, that's what I've thought about. So we're going to put cherry tomatoes up front first here with the tomatoes so that when they're producing, he can come in and get himself a snack before he starts working.
That's true. It's a good way to lay out your garden is by how you like to eat while you're working.
And we're going to do the same thing on the pepper row also.
Correct. Yeah, you want to put your snacking peppers right close to your tomatoes, and really having these cherry tomatoes right by the basil is another smart idea because a cherry tomato wrapped in a basil leaf, it doesn't get much better than that.
So
if we could grow bacon, that would be about the only thing that would make it better, which we do raise.
We do grow bacon, just not
in the garden. If I could grow a bacon plant, that would make my day even better, but it's going to be pretty good when I can stand out here and eat, 3 or 4 dozen tomatoes while I'm working.
Now, there are 2 varieties of cherry tomatoes that are Kevin's all-time favorites. So, of course, we are going to be planting both of them.
Right. And in fact, this year, those are the only 2 varieties of cherry tomatoes we're going to be planting anywhere on the homestead because they really are my favorite to eat. They are the best producers that we ever grow. And so, in my opinion, there's no reason to plant any other varieties. If you've been watching us over the years, you probably already know what they are. One of them is called Juliet. This is a hybrid tomato, so unfortunately you can't save seeds from it. You have to buy seeds every year, but it's worth it to me. What I like about these is they are very, very prolific.
Hmm.
They're a good size like grape tomato. They're probably about 2 inches, 2.5 inches long. So they're like a 2 bite tomato, what I would consider. Um, and they're super prolific, and they never crack in the summer heat, which is one of the things I really, really like about them.
Now, I'm not a fresh tomato eater. I actually don't like fresh tomatoes. But the reason why I like the Juliets so much is that they're not super juicy inside, so I can use them as a paste tomato or a sauce tomato. I when we have an abundance of them, because I can tell you that as many tomatoes as Kevin can eat in the summer, he cannot possibly eat all of the tomatoes from the cherry tomato plants that we grow. So I do like to use the Juliets in my sauce making, and it just helps out, just kind of fill in those gaps, fill in those holes. So we had said before about the fertilizer that in the standard plants we will be adding 5.5 tablespoons down into the hole, mix it up, and then plant our tomatoes. Now, when we plant tomato plants, we plant them very deep because the stem portion will also create roots. So we're going to pinch off a couple of the leaves, and then we'll just plant these as deep as we want, and then they'll just grow straight up nice and healthy.
Yeah, there's no secret in planting tomatoes other than going deep. You really just want to, put your soil around, press down, fill back in around them, and that's really all there is to it as far as planting these tomatoes. Now, while Sarah's planting hers, I'll move on to the other variety and tell you about that. The other variety that we're going to be planting, my other favorite, is called large red cherry. This is a variety that is an heirloom variety, and we do save seed from every year. Um, these are another really, really good eating cherry tomato, a good sized cherry tomato. These are round, where these other ones are kind of an oblong. Um, these also very rarely crack in the summer heat, which is a big issue here in Missouri because we really do get hot in the summer. And most tomatoes will crack open in the summer, but neither of these varieties do, which is something that I really like about them. And of course, the fact that this is an heirloom makes it even that much better. I always say that if I could only grow one tomato ever again for the rest of my life, it would be the large red cherry because they are really that good. A lot of times, to me, cherry tomatoes don't have as good of a taste as your big slicing tomatoes, but I can tell you both of these varieties compete in every way with a good slicing tomato. So that's what we're going to be planting: the Juliets and the large red cherry.
Next up, we will be planting paste tomatoes. Now, paste tomatoes, or some people call them plum tomatoes, they are a tomato that have a lot less water on the inside, and they're perfect for making paste or sauce. And a lot of people like them to use. And a lot of people like to use them for making their salsas because it's not so watery. Now, my favorite variety of paste tomato is the Amish paste, and that is what I have here. My intention was to plant all Amish paste for my paste tomatoes, but you guys, I had terrible germination on the seeds that I had. To be honest, they were older, but I thought they would be fine, and I ended up with 3 out of the 8 that I needed. I looked almost everywhere for more Amish paste seedlings like this, but nobody was selling them. So at our local Amish nursery, I picked up a variety of paste tomatoes called Viva Italia. Now, I don't know anything about them other than they look a lot like the Roma tomatoes that you get in the grocery store. So I picked them up because I need more paste tomatoes. And so between the Amish paste and the Viva Italia, these are the paste tomatoes we will be growing for this year. You'll have to come back and see how these do. I have great expectations for them, and so I hope they live up to what I'm hoping. Now, you've seen how we plant our tomatoes, and we plant every variety the same way. So we're just going to plant these up, and then we can move on and talk with you about the slicing tomatoes we're going to be planting next.
So the last type of tomato that we're going to be planting today are our slicing tomatoes. These are kind of your standard tomatoes, what an eating tomato, a sandwich tomato, and the variety that we have been growing really for probably 10 years or more is the Jetstar. It is by far our favorite slicing tomato, and really because it is a very consistent producer. Every year it does well. It's very resistant to most of the diseases. They very rarely crack. They very rarely get blossom end rot. And they are just a good slicing tomato for fresh eating. We also use these for making things like salsas, especially fresh salsa like pico de gallo. You do have to strain them because they are a pretty juicy tomato, but the flavor is absolutely amazing. This is also the variety that Sarah uses to do diced tomatoes. She uses these to make tomato juice and vegetable juice like V8. It's just a good all around tomato and a delicious tomato as well. So we're going to be planting 8 of these today. We're going to plant them just like we did everything else. So we're going to get these done, and then we're going to move on to green beans. The last thing on this half of the greenhouse is going to be green beans. For years and years and years, we planted one variety of green beans called contender green beans. They are a bush bean. And then a couple years ago, many of you started recommending that we try a variety called the jade green beans. So we tried those 2 years ago for the first time, and we have absolutely fallen in love with them. Last year, we still did some of the contenders and the jade, but this year, we're only going to be doing the jade green beans because we really do think they are better.
Overall, I think they produced more for us, and the clusters produced like more of the beans. They were longer, they were thinner, they were just more tender.
Right,
We really did love them, and I do feel like their season of producing beans was a little bit longer than the contenders.
right. Yeah, they really are a great fresh eating and canning green bean. Of course, I mostly care about the fresh eating part. I think Sarah's putting them way back here at the back of the greenhouse, though. I think she's trying to tell me something that she's
No,
putting
no,
them back here.
no.
But I don't care. I can walk back here to eat.
I was gonna
It's
say I
fine.
figured that like you can just like graze, you
True.
can get some of your cherry tomatoes and then go and like look around, and then you'll get back here to the green beans. You're like, oh, it is time for another
True.
snack. I'll just eat some green beans.
True. Good plan.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be planting these today. We're going to be planting 8 tubs of them.
Mhm.
We always plant 5 plants per tub, so a total of 40 plants. These, of course, are just from seed. So like we talked about earlier, when we're planting from seed today, we are not going to be planting, or we're not going to be fertilizing when we plant. We're going to wait until the plants are up, and then we'll add fertilizer a little bit later on. So for these, there's no big secret. Basically, just take your bean, push it down into the soil. I usually go to, about my first knuckle or so. Cover it back up, especially when you have nice loose soil like this. It's not a big deal at all. We'll do 5 of those in each of these buckets, and then this half of the greenhouse will officially be done.
Yeah, this size bean, you want to put it down about an inch, but it's still pretty easy. Well, we've decided to move on to this half of the greenhouse, start from the back and move toward the front. We are going to be planting zucchini and pickling cucumbers in this area. One side here will be the zucchini and the other side will be the cucumbers.
We're going to be planting 6 buckets of each, and eventually, once the cucumbers are up and start to grow, we will be adding a trellis here for the cucumbers to climb up on as well.
Yes, the zucchini plants are going to get nice and big, so they'll have plenty of room to grow their big leaves and maybe hang over this side. And we're really excited to get planting these. We love cucumbers and we love zucchini. Now, the variety of zucchini we're going to be using is really kind of a standard. It's just kind of a classic. It's the Black Beauty zucchini. We were able to get these seeds just from our local feed store, so no specific brand.
Right, yeah, you can get the Black Beauty from lots of different
Right.
places. The type of cucumber that we're going to be doing this year is the same that we did last year. It's called Wisconsin pickling. We did it for the first time last year, and it instantly became a favorite with everyone in our family. They're really good when you pick them small, but they're also still good when you let them get bigger as well. So they don't have to just be for pickling. You can let them get bigger and eat them as, bigger slicing cucumbers as well.
Now, both of these that we're planting, Kevin also likes to snack on while he's out here in the greenhouse.
What?
Loves to pick just a cucumber, and actually the small zucchini are actually really great, just picked off and just kind of eaten while you're walking around.
Right. So we're going to plant one plant in each of these buckets. I'm actually going to put 2 seeds in each hole just because that way we guarantee we'll get good germination.
Yeah, me
And then
too.
we'll thin them out.
Right.
But what we want to end up with is one plant in each bucket. So no big secret on how to plant either of these. Just very similar to the beans. About a ½ inch or so under the soil for the cucumbers. We're going to just plant them right in the center of each bucket.
And for the zucchini seeds, probably a ½ inch to an inch down in the soil.
Well, on to the pepper plants. We've got everything kind of set in their tubs because we didn't know exactly where everything was going to go. We just figured it out right now. So we're going to go over all of the varieties with you, and then we're going to get them planted so that the greenhouse is officially done. So these first 2 buckets are the only ones that we didn't start from seed. We actually picked these up from our local nursery. We've got 2 different plants here. One is called Tricked You. It is a not spicy jalapeno. We've grown these in the past. We used to buy them from seed, and they were called nadapenos. This is the same thing. It's just a not spicy jalapeno.
Now, like I said before, we like to set up the front of this greenhouse so that Kevin can come in and snack. He loves to snack on those not hot jalapenos. We are trying a mini bell pepper. It's called Mini Bell Mix, and that'll be nice to have up here. And then back here is kind of another spoof on a spicy pepper, but it's not
Right.
spicy. These are habanadas.
Right.
So they taste like a habanero pepper, but they're not spicy at all. We grew these last year and absolutely loved them.
Right. And in fact, my mom actually really liked these. She would put them in her air fryer, and she loved them that way. So we're going to grow 2 of these this year. If they were as prolific as they were last year, 2 plants will be plenty.
Absolutely. Moving back here, we have 4 bell pepper plants. Now, my favorite type of bell pepper is called Emerald Giant, and I swear to you that I had Emerald Giant seed, but when it came time to seed starting time, I could not find them. So I ran to the store and saw what they had, and I decided to take a chance on a variety called Jupiter. So these are Jupiter bell peppers. They go red nicely. Now, all green peppers, most green peppers will turn red eventually, but I love the sweetness of a red pepper. So I'm going to be growing Jupiter bell peppers. We can pick them green or we can let them go red.
So that's those 4 buckets here. After that are the roasting peppers. These are Sarah's absolute favorite variety of red roasting peppers called Ajvarski. You've seen us grow these many times in the past.
Yeah, Ajvarski are very prolific, but they're also a very large roasting pepper. Very sweet. Love them to death. We will be planting 4 plants of the Ajvarskis.
After the Ajvarskis are the regular jalapeno peppers, the spicy jalapeno peppers, which I do also like. I just don't like to stand out here and eat a bunch of
Right.
spicy peppers all at once. But we are growing 4 of the jalapenos this year. The variety is the Craig's Grande. They're a nice big jalapeno. We've grown this variety many times in the past, and they always do well.
Last of the peppers are the Tabasco peppers. They are so fun to grow. They are very prolific, teeny tiny peppers, but they pack a punch.
Right. And they are fun. They grow almost upside down. They look like they're upside down, and when they start to turn red, they almost look like a Christmas tree in the greenhouse. It's
Mm-hmm.
really fun to have them. And 2 plants will be able to make us at least a gallon of Tabasco sauce, which is about what we go through in a year, but it might actually be able to make us even more than that.
That's right. So those are the pepper plants that we are planting. You guys, you plant pepper plants just like tomato plants. You dig the hole. We're going to put some of that fertilizer in the bottom, mix it up at the bottom of the hole, and plant the plants. So we're going to get started and plant all these peppers. And then, you guys, this greenhouse will be completely planted for the summer. Well, in no time at all, the entire greenhouse is planted for the summer. I cannot wait until these get bigger, and I'm so excited for fresh veggies.
Here in Missouri, we have a very long growing season. So most of these plants will now grow, and once they start producing, we'll keep producing really probably until the end of October
Yeah.
at least before we get our first frost. It's amazing to think that the work that we're doing now in April will still be benefiting us in October, and that's awesome.
Before you know it, we will also be planting our outside raised bed garden areas with all the rest of our summer veggies. We are excited to bring you along for that as well.
So you guys, that's where we're going to wrap up today's video. This was a good day's work to get this done. We're excited to see how all of these plants do, how this new fertilizer works for us. I think it's going to be an amazing growing season.
You guys, we're so excited that you stopped by today to come along with us as we plant the greenhouse. If you're enjoying videos like this, make sure that you give us a thumbs up, and hey, subscribe to our channel. We would love that. If you know of somebody else that you think would enjoy videos like this too, we would love for you to share our video on your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care, and God bless.
God bless.